So training calisthenics, we know there are so many different exercises, different skills, and all these complex variations that you can train. Some are obviously incredibly niche and some are ones that we just all know. Standard foundation, standard exercises that we train. However, there are some exercises that may look really cool. They're things that you want to train, things that you want to unlock, but they don't actually help you with much more than the fact that they actually look cool. And on the contrary, there are exercises that build you so much carryover of strength and skill for all these other variations, and they help you unlock absolutely everything if you nail that exercise. So I wanted to devise a list that you guys can work through that are the most important exercises that you need to learn. And especially for those of you in your first couple of years, I think this will absolutely set the tone for all of your calisthenics strength and skill and really build a solid foundation of strength and skill and key understanding about movement patterns. And obviously, if you can unlock all these 10 skills and even work through all of the progressions around that, it'll be absolutely flying. So let's start with that 10 most important exercise. So within calisthenics, it is so important, obviously, to have really strong core compression. We all know that. But building up your hip flexor strength is an absolute staple for so many calisthenic skills, and also your hamstring mobility. If you've got really good hamstring mobility, as well as that hip flexor strength and core strength, you are flying. And one of the most important exercises, and it's a little bit of an accessory exercise too, is seated hip compressions. And the best part about it is that there are progressions and variations for absolutely anyone. All you have to do is slightly lean a little bit more forward to create a much more difficult exercise. And obviously, if that's quite hard for you, start a little bit further back. But for this, what we're teaching here is that end range hip compression. And we're also simultaneously working on our hamstrings a little bit too. So what this is really gonna help you for is exercises like press to stand, L sits, and even building up that core and hip compression will help you with absolutely almost every single skill, especially those more pull focused skills as well. So an excellent exercise and how I would train it inside your programming is literally just probably towards more of the end of the session, as it is a bit more of an accessory movement. But for around that 10 to 15 rep range for a few sets, couple minutes rest between sets, excellent exercise to add to your repertoire. Another thing that is obviously so important in calisthenics is shoulder strength and shoulder mobility, and especially on a bar. Things like front levers, back levers, obviously two staple exercises that we want to work toward. And one of the best ways to build up that mobility, strength, conditioning is doing skin the catch. Skin the catch is such a staple exercise, especially in your first year. And if you can master that, build that strength and conditioning through a full range of motion with nice control, you're gonna set the tone for all of your calisthenic skills. And there's ways to make it a lot harder as well. So the slower you do this in a tucked variation, and as deep as you can possibly get on both sides, that's obviously going to make it a whole lot harder. And obviously, if that is still a little bit difficult for you, what you can do is you can slightly bend your arms and use a bit of momentum to help you get up at the start, and then just don't go as deep as you possibly can. But in terms of the progress, it's about really trying to straighten your arms eventually, build up that overall full range of motion and just get as deep as you possibly can. And then you can progress to start doing some like kind of front lever and back lever variations throughout that. So the progressions for this is absolutely endless, and it's such a good way to condition those shoulders, which we know are so important in calisthenics. Balance and control is no doubt a staple in calisthenics as well. And I think one of the best exercises to really set the tone and help you build wrist strength, wrist conditioning, and obviously just overall body balance and control is exercises like a crow pose. And it's something that everyone can learn very, very quickly. And I think if you can't do it in your first day, your second day or third day, I think within a week, you can certainly do it if you're consistent with the practice. And all you have to do, I like to have my hands forward, helps build some wrist conditioning sometimes, I think as well. And then place your elbows on the inside of your legs, and then slowly lift those hands off and lean a little bit further forward. What I see everyone done all the time is people just trying to throw themselves forward and just trying to like force themselves into it, and then the head falls over, all the rest of it. Very, very slowly, incrementally find balance. So slowly keep placing your weight more and more forward and slightly less off your feet. And that way, slowly get into that crow pose is a lot easier. But this is such an important exercise to learn and grasp, and then obviously progress from there to things like crane poses and all the rest of it. I'm sure you guys have all heard the term scap protraction, and this is something that we really need to make sure that we're building. Having that nice push strength and ability to scap protract and engage our core, our pelvis through all of those push movements that we do is such an important skill. And one of the best ways that you can start and learn this right from the get-go, build that core compression strength, build up that ability to be in the right pushing mechanics, is actually the plank. And I think this is such a staple exercise everyone knows, but not the calisthenics plank. What a normal plank people do is they kind of just come here and they pretty much just hold on for dear life. I'm sure you've tried to hang on for like 2 minutes, but what we're doing here is we're doing this in as much scap protraction and rounded upper back as possible, while also tucking in your pelvis and bracing through your core. If you can do a plank like this with the right mechanics and hold it for as long as you can, your push strength and your understanding of all of those key push exercises is gonna grow substantially. So get this right and you're absolutely laughing. So continuing on with those skin to cats, obviously we've built up a lot of core strength and shoulder strength there, which is so important. And why we do those hanging exercises is obviously to build up a lot of grip strength, which we're gonna do for this as well, but making sure that we can build up and continue to build that core compression and hip flexor strength during those hanging movements. And this exercise is gonna really help as a kind of beginner level of progress into those front levers. And I think it continues on for those hip compressions that we're building in the first exercise and all of those. And this is hanging leg raises. I really do think hanging leg raises is an absolute staple foundation along with like push-ups, pull-ups and all the rest of it. And if you can master this as quickly as you can, you've really set the tone to progress further. And in terms of the progressions, all you're really doing is starting from knee and then slowly getting to a point where you can get into that fully locked out, knees straighted, toes pointed position, and then just trying to get as high as you can. You can also progress these to start doing some bar taps as well, and getting stronger at all those hip compression core exercises like this. Awesome for you. So the next one on the list is actually one that most of you wouldn't have expected to be here. And I think a lot of you actually think it's probably the least important. It's a skill that's categorized as the overrated exercise of calisthenics because everyone does it and it kind of looks cool, but doesn't require a whole lot of strength. But what it does is it teaches you how to be strong through your wrists and balance your whole body. And we're kind of using the same kind of principles with the crow pose, but now it's obviously a harder variation with that elbow lever. And I think if you can learn an elbow lever, it really sets the tone for a lot of push skills that require balance. So things like 90-degree push-ups, planche push-ups, obviously handstand variations as well. I think learning an elbow lever sets you up for that. And obviously in terms of the progressions, what I do recommend doing is starting with more of a frog stand and learning how to balance. You can use your feet if you need to, and then progressing to going into that straddle and then full elbow lever. It does take time to build, slowly progress to it. But if you can learn this exercise, I promise you, you're actually setting up your progress. So the next exercise, I think is one of an absolute staple to build the understanding in terms of the right pushing mechanic. And I think this sets a tone for things as well, like handstand push-ups, 90-degree push-ups, all these bent arm planches. If you can master this exercise, I promise your understanding of calisthenics will absolutely fly. And this is planche lean push-ups. And the reason why this is so important is that it teaches you not only that ability to scap protract, be strong through your hips, but to do it through a full range of motion. And a lot of the mechanics that you do, like I'm doing right now, is exactly what you want to be doing with all those advanced skills. So that ability to be scap protracted and rounded through that push range of motion, so important. So if you can grasp this straight away, as I've said, you're set, absolutely set. So we know pull-ups, staple exercise. We all know that. Building up your lat strength, building up your core strength through a full range of motion, absolute staple. What a lot of people get wrong though, is they do bodybuilder pull-ups. While that's okay, definitely gonna build up your strength. If you can do these in a hollow body manner with your core compressed and then the range of motion is a little bit more forward in terms of your elbows, so you're building up the strength in those pull-ups, full range of motion, but more specific to harder calisthenic skills. So hollow body pull-ups, without a doubt, the most important calisthenics exercise besides the next two. Such a staple exercise. And if you can build this up, get to a point where you're doing 10 reps of these, and then your pull strength, all the skills you want to learn are absolutely set. So make these a #1 priority to build up in your first year. Get these absolutely set in terms of your form and in terms of your strength. So just before we get into these two most important calisthenics exercises, I just want to plug my calisthenics community. There are programs that progress you from beginner to advanced, regardless of what your goals are and your training preferences. There's community support. You get weekly coaching calls with me. I'm super active in there. And I think in terms of your progress, it's probably the smartest thing you can do because you're getting feedback and you're getting the programs that are correct for building strength. So These 10 exercises, most important skills, are well and truly a part of it, but obviously how to program it, how to make it within your training schedule. And it's literally less than $1 a day. So if you want to jump in, by all means, jump in. Otherwise, continue smashing your training. So that second most important skill, and I'd almost put this first, but I think first definitely should be first. And if you've watched my channel before, you know how much I believe this exercise is so important. I'm not going to go too far into the form and technique. I do have a video that goes on to this in terms of a lot of detail, because I think it is a very technical skill. But this is pike push-ups. And if you can learn how to correctly vertically press with the right position in terms of scap protraction, in terms of your elbow being over your wrist and being super vertical, if you can do a perfect pike push-up for multiple reps, I promise you a handstand push-up is so close. And what it does is it teaches that strength, conditioning, and correct movement pattern for obviously handstand push-ups and all those exercises beyond. So pike push-ups are an absolute staple to get right. You can use bands or half pike push-ups to slowly progress. And obviously you can progress them beyond to pike press to stands, handstand push-ups, all the rest of it. So building up that vertical press strength, such a staple exercise. The final exercise that is without a doubt the most important, as it brings together absolutely everything, and this is handstands. If you do calisthenics, you can't hold a handstand. I don't even think you're doing calisthenics. Handstands set the tone for absolutely everything in terms of a lot of those advanced push skills you'll learn. And obviously that balance component is such a beautiful skill to learn. So make sure it is your top priority to learn the handstand. Grease the groove this, train it every day. I've got a video about how I got the handstand within 1 month, and I've got a lot of clients in the same boat. So watch that video if you haven't, but just simply wall handstands, getting into freestanding when you can, and just greasing the groove. It's the most important thing. I hope you like this video. Like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, all the rest of it. Let me know how many of these skills you've actually mastered, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Let's go.